you have more power than that. You have the power to create meaning in your life rather than passively look for it. If Einstein were here and we're talking with Einstein, we could talk to him for hours and hours and hours. You know what question will never come out of our mouths? What college did you go to? I want to go to that same college. I bet most of your people who've sat in this chair, it's not about what college they went to. It's about their own initiative, their own drive, their own ambitions, their own curiosity. That is not taught in school, sadly. The gym instructor pointed to my father online. He was in gym class and they were lining up and they were about to enter the next athletic unit, and it was track and field. And the gym instructor pointed to my father online and said, Cyril Tyson, everyone look at him. He does not have the body type that would excel in track. And they used him as an example. And he says, what? No one is going to tell me what I can't do in my life. And he used that as a reason to start running. And he started track in that moment. He decided that one of his next tasks in life would be to take up running and excel at it. This is a famous quote from Martin Luther King. You can only be ridden if your back is bent. These microaggressions are converted to enthusiasm to excel. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I don't give a rat's ass what you say to me, okay? Unless you are between me and some goal, then I'll have to navigate that some way. As they say, that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The New York Athletic Club at the time accepted only white Protestants. So there was another club called the Pioneer Club, which took everybody who was not accepted to the New York Athletic Club, which was basically blacks and Jews, is really what that came down to. And some Catholics, but basically blacks and Jews. So he competed alongside Jewish athletes. So there they are competing against the New York Athletic Club, was coming around the back stretch, coming on the final straightaway. And a runner from the New York Athletic Club is a few paces behind him, and overhears that runner's coach say, catch that. So what did he say to himself? He said, this is one he ain't gonna catch. And that extended his lead to the finish line. And he tells this story not with any bitter tone, as you might think. Any story like that today would certainly be told with great remorse and consternation. So he never had that kind of tone when he shared those stories with us. It was, here's an occasion to parlay what today might be called a microaggression into a reason to excel even more than you had expected of your own abilities and talents. High school, that's where you learn how to deal with difficult people. There's not a single high school movie that doesn't show the angst of the cliques that have formed and what the relationships are that they have to one another. It's this microcosm of real stuff that goes on in the real world. There are beautiful people and they will get jobs you're not gonna get, okay? There are people who are nasty. You're gonna have to navigate them. There are people who you cannot interact with for whatever reason or another. They're gonna be in the cubicle next to you in your workplace. So I think we undervalue the total social pot that people are tossed into in their high school experience. They want to say, oh, I could have learned more, but I had to deal with all these people. Hey, having to deal with all these people is now in your portfolio. For when you're in the workplace, you've got it. Within a few years of that, he became world class. At one time, had the 5th fastest time in the world. In the middle distance, they don't run this anymore, 600-yard run. And he, in 1948, the Olympics was not yet ready to come back to us because we're still roiling from the Second World War. Instead, there was still an Olympics. It was called the GI Olympics, and it was held in Hitler's stadium.
Whoa.
So he competed in Hitler's stadium in the late 1940s. At the end of the day, what matters is for who and what you become in life. For me, at least, was what level of wisdom did he glean in his life and then successfully communicate to me, either by example or by just explicit statement. This is how I ended up hosting Cosmos in 2014. Anne Druyan, the widow of Carl Sagan, who is hugely talented. She's one of the most enlightened people I've ever met. She approached me and said, would you consider hosting Cosmos? I said, there's a dozen people, maybe half dozen others, who would jump at this opportunity. I don't need to do this. I really don't. Then I thought about it and I said, well, I met Carl Sagan when I was 17. I was applying to colleges, he was at Cornell. I didn't know this, they had forwarded my application to him for his reaction. I was already deep in the universe since I was 9. And he sent me a letter. He doesn't know me from Adam. I'm a 17-year-old kid from the Bronx. He's a professor of astronomy at Cornell University. And I get this letter and I open it and it says, I understand you like the same stuff I like. Do you want to come visit the campus to help you decide if you want to go to Cornell? It was like, whoa, now he hadn't done Cosmos yet, that's how old I am, but he was already famous. He had been on The Tonight Show and, and had best-selling books. So I took him up on it. I took a bus up to Ithaca, New York. He met me outside his building on a Saturday, invited me up to his office, saw the labs. I'm there in front of him, he did something really cool. He reached back, didn't even look, grabbed a book off the shelf. It was one of his books. I thought that was a badass thing. Don't even have to look. That's one of my books, yep, okay, here. And he signed it to me. Neil Tyson, future astronomer, signed Carl. Later in the day, I'm ready to go back to New York. It begins to snow, as it does often in December in Ithaca. And he says, here's my home number. If the bus can't get through from the snow, spend the night with my family and go back tomorrow. I'm thinking, who am I? What? I'm nobody. But I was somebody to him. And I said to myself, if I'm ever as remotely famous as he is, I will treat students the way he has treated me. And I said to myself, if we can fold this memory into this next Cosmos, then we have a way to justify who and what I am as the next host, because a torch got passed. It wasn't passed in 2014, it was passed in 1975, all right, to Neil Tyson, future astronomer. I still have that book. So I thought to myself, I possibly could bring a unique contribution as host to the show. Because the leveraging of 10 minutes of my life into the happiness or enlightenment or the reduced suffering of someone else, I'd be irresponsible if I did not. If Einstein were here and we're talking with Einstein, we could talk to him for hours and hours and hours. And you know what question will never come out of our mouths? Is, what college did you go to? I want to go to that same college. I bet most of your people who've sat in this chair, it's not about what college they went to. It's about their own initiative, their own drive, their own ambitions, their own curiosity. That is not taught in school, sadly. School, they view you as this empty vessel that they pour information in, and you test it over here, you get a high grade, you're praised. I was in Central Park, and it had rained a little earlier, so there were puddles in some of the walkways. I saw a woman walking with her kid. The kid has galoshes on and a raincoat on, and there's this big, juicy, muddy puddle right there. I said, please let the kid jump in the puddle. You know the kid wants to jump in the puddle. The kid is like 3 or 4. And what does the mother do? She pulls the kid around to prevent that from happening. That was a bit of curiosity in that moment that was extinguished. Kids are sources of chaos and disorder. They are experimenting with their environment. Everything is new to them. Everything. You splash the water, there's mud, it's fun. You get to see the cause and effect of a force, downward force operating on a fluid. And on the other side of that is school should, as a minimum, preserve that curiosity for you. So I can just tell you that what has to change. When you come down the steps on the last day of school, you are not singing the Alice Cooper song, "School's out forever." And the fact that you're happy that school is over means something is not working in there. You're not enjoying the learning process. That many people look for meaning in life, as though they will, I'm still searching for meaning in what my life, as though it's going to be under a rock or behind a tree. Well, there's my meaning. And I'm thinking to myself, you have more power than that. You have the power to create meaning in your life rather than passively look for it. So for me, I create the meaning. And meaning to me is, do I know more about the world today than I did yesterday? That enhances meaning for me. And if that accumulates and accrues daily, in a month you know way more than you did than just that day later, so that you continue to grow. Have I, by whatever powers I have available to me, have I lessened the suffering of others? Or the corollary to that would be, have I enhanced the life of others? They're related. And I don't mean, have I devoted the whole day to doing that? Then I would be ignoring myself. But if there's some small gesture that I can do that can completely add value to someone's life, I'm going to do it. High school, that's where you learn how to deal with difficult people. There's not a single high school movie that doesn't show the angst of the cliques that have formed and what the relationships are that they have to one another.